In our journey through the nooks of the tribal and peasant revolution, after East, it was time for the peasants of North Bengal to rise against the British rulers. Welcome back to another episode of the Revolution Untold Story of Indian Freedom Struggle. And I am Kaushik Mazumdar. In January of 1783, the peasants of Rangpur district, alongside the zamindars who lost their land, being a defaulter of the payable taxes, got united and took control of the parganas of Kakina, Kazirhat and Tepa in district Rangpur. On one hand, the demand of the British East India Company was increasing day by day. On the other hand, the atrocities of their appointed collectors and ijaradars would know no limit. Devi Singh, the then ijaradar of Rangpur, backed by the collector Goodlad, had crossed all limits of atrocities. Eventually, the people of Rangpur had no choice but to resist. The uprising started on January 18, 1783. They attacked the courts, looted grains, and released prisoners. For a whole 5 weeks, these captured areas were under the control of the rebels. They elected Nuruluddin as their leader, who gave the famous call for the rise, Jago Bahe, though eventually the rebellion was suppressed and Nuruluddin was killed. The news of this insurgency reached London and became part of the debate in Parliament about the company's governance of India. According to the popular stories, it is said that when Edmund Burke described instances of the events of Rangpur at length during the opening of the impeachment of the Governor General Warren Hastings in the House of Lords, spectators in the Strangers' Gallery fainted with horror due to the extent of cruelty. Till this point, all the peasants and tribal revolts that we saw were rather directly caused by the land reforms of the short-sighted British rulers who wanted to maximize the revenue out of their holdings. Eventually, in 1893 came the Permanent Settlement Act. According to the Act, landlords or zamindars were recognized as the owners of the land and given hereditary rights of succession of the lands. The amount to be paid by the landlords was fixed even for the future. In Hunter's opinion, the Permanent Settlement Act tried to suddenly substitute a custom contract. This new system was against the interest of both the semi-tribal chiefs, common farmers, as well as those zamindars who lost their holdings under the excuse of bad management and arrears of revenue. Rani Shiromani of the Midnapur estate, the zamindar of Raipur Durjan Singh, was amongst the several others who found themselves facing unusual humiliations, as for example arrest, mortgage and sale of property. According to J.E. Price, we come to know that Rani Shiromani was considered as a mother figure by the tribals. She sheltered them under every circumstances. But as Rani fell off with the British Company, she was only entitled to a monthly allowance, and all her powers were taken away by the East India Company. Under these circumstances, Rani Shiromani decided to join the rebels and give leadership to their rebellion. On the other hand, in 1798, Raja Durjan Singh of Raipur, being ousted from his post of power, declared war against the British East India Company. He, along with his 1500 pikes, gained control of the surrounding villages. Soon their revolution spread to further districts. Pikes staged multiple attacks on different strongholds and power centers of the company. Thus one day, around 2000 pikes attacked, burned, and plundered the property of the government kept in Anantpur village and escaped to Midnapur. Alarmed by the incident, in anticipation of the upcoming attack on power centers of Midnapur, the collector declared a reward for the arrest of Govardhan Dakpati and Kanak Singh, but the British administration could not obtain any assistance from Pikes, who had declared their loyalty towards Rani Shiromani. The magistrate then directed to arrest the Rani and her adherents and to capture the fort of Karnagar, a convenient refuge for the insurgents. Rani asked all the tribal leaders to meet and decide upon a common course of action. The Pikes spiritedly joined the band of Adivasis even after the arrest of the Rani and her adherents. The bazaar of Dhalhara was burned and several cattle were carried off, though eventually the Chuar rebellion was suppressed by the British army. Both sides suffered numerous losses. Once the battle was over, British police punished the rebels publicly to make a statement. But instead of spreading fear, this act had spread the sense of resistance further. In 1806, Achal Singh led Laiks, the dwellers of Shal Forest in Gangani, near Garbeta, against the British. Their struggle lasted for 10 years till Achal Singh got caught and executed. Though their traditional weapon was no match for the British army, their plight for freedom would forever remain in the pages of history. We will soon come back with another episode describing the next phase of the peasants and tribal movement. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy.